Welcome to the Bear Necessities Podcast, hosted by Pbear, your friendly neighborhood bear. This is the show where authentic stories meet authentic conversations. It's the Temu of podcasting, as it has all the podcasting needs from current events to the struggles and joys of everyday family life. Everyone has a story to tell, so let's bring them to life and hopefully offend the easily offended. I'm talking to you, Karen, from the Aldi car park, who took up 2 parking spaces. The Bear Necessities Podcast, brought to you by HBS. Find us on Spotify and Instagram for more info. Life's a journey. Bear with me, and let's get into it.
Is high and we're riding away through the pines so tall, hear the grizzlies roar out where the winds and the wild things soar. Yeehaw, life's an open trail, rolling like a wagon, steady as a gale. From the hills to the plains, we're feeling free. Country living's where I wanna be, with the host Pbear recording content for me.
Yeehaw, partners! You're very welcome to the Bear Necessities Podcast. I'm your host Pbear, but you can call me Baby Bear. Whoa! Coming to you live on a Friday night, live/pre-recorded, after the events of last night. Storm Owen wreaking havoc across the island. The southern and western coast got battered. They got pummeled by gusts of wind measuring 183 kilometers per hour, like 20 years ago in Barcode when Pbear starting the bouncer and I got knocked out at 183 kilometers per hour out the front door, never to return again. The place did close its doors eventually, but my God, it was some good times. But yeah, a lot of people losing power. 700,000 people without power. Over 1 million houses, businesses, farms down power. Shocking. But I suppose that shower met Aaron. They normally are never on the button, but they got this one right. So kudos to them. Hopefully no injuries, no fatalities, and no one's out on the road crashing into all those trees. I was actually out walking my pooch this morning in the gale force winds, and I seen a fell over a tree, smashed into a fence, and I was like, whoa. It's weird when you actually see it, but it's the power of nature, you know. And it makes you think about this climate thing. Is it real? I know if you keep paying money, they'll fix it, but it actually is. It could be real, I don't know. But then again, I talked about the cold snap yesterday. Nature is scary, and tonight a lot of people have no power, and hopefully ESB get a report of a blackout, and they will get around and get everyone's power back up and running for the weekend. But anyway, tonight's topic of the show is it came from a loyal listener / subscriber to the premium plan. He or she pays $7.99 per month to access premium content from the Bear Necessities. Jokes, but he did send me a text, asked me to discuss a topic which I knew a little bit about, a little background on, and I haven't really, went into a bit of research. But today I researched it, and last night I did some high-level research, and I was actually a bit shocked. So what I want to talk about is it's the Mercosur. I thought it was French, but it's actually not. Mercosur, EU Partnership Trade Agreement. And this it's a trade agreement between the EU, the unelected bureaucrats in Europe. I know we elect MEPs to go and sit in there to represent us, but the head honchos there, the big bosses, are unelected. So it's an unelected parliament in my eyes and many other eyes. And they basically tell us what's going down and what we're going to do. We're in the club, and you will adhere and conform to the club's policies. But what basically this is going to do, this is going to have It's basically an agreement where the EU will sell or trade its products down in South America. The four founding members, should I say, of Mercosur. One is Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Numero two is the Samba, Brazilian football geniuses who serve us drinks in Temple Bar, Brasilia. Number three is Paraguay. Paraguay. All I could tell you about Paraguay is they had a cracking goalkeeper in the 90s called Chivale or Chivalart, excuse my pronunciation, and he used to take the free kicks for Paraguay in the World Cup, and I always remember that. Yeah, he stuck with me. I wonder where he is now. He's probably vice chairman of Mercosur, or he's off taking free kicks for somewhere, I don't know, but that's all I can tell you about Paraguay. And the last member is Uruguay. You could do a play on words there and be very childish, but I'm not going to fall for the bait. So Uruguay were the first team to win the World Cup, and they are a growing economy in South America. So basically, what they want to sell their stuff in the EU, but the biggest stuff they're going to sell, the main thing about all this, it's all a shadow backdoor thing, where they're going to sell us beef and soy. So this beef and soy is being grown and produced in none other than the lungs of the earth of the globe. So we talk about the Paris Climate Treaty, and if we give more money to the government, it'll change the weather, all the usual bullshit. But the lungs of the earth, the Amazonian rainforest, one of the wonders of the world. Trees, lush green landscape, the lungs. So we breathe in oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. The trees, the leaves, like Moana said, they let them live. It brings it in and soaks out what we need, and we give them what they need, and there's a partnership there. So this is why it's always important when deforestation kicks in, is to replant to replace what you're taking away. But it doesn't seem to be the case down the Amazon. They are destroying large swaths, and they're setting up soy farms and beef productions for export to the EU. So just looking at the exporters of the biggest beef exporters in the world, and I've done a couple of checks on this, and they all seem to be saying one or two disparities, but the majority, number one, you can probably take a guess, begins in the EU and it ends in the United States of America. They're number one, ranking in highly at number one. They'd have their big meat farms and beef farms in Texas because they'd all eat 20-pound ribeyes. But the quality of the beef is not great. So I've been told. I have been to America, I have tasted beef, but I cannot say it is up to the par with our premier beef products that are produced locally and sourced on this island of Ireland. Number two coming in, Brazil, interesting, the home of the Amazonian rainforest, and as one of the main partners of the Mercosur Trade Consortium. And ranking in at number three, strangely, is the EU. The EU to me is not a country. I know they try to pass themselves off as one thing now, one club, but to me it's not. It's still a collection of states that has members, and those members have a veto on certain things. But what's happening with this is a lot of the agricultural sides in these EU states. So the main players would be Ireland, obviously, being one of the biggest exporters of beef products. The Netherlands, France, who else? Poland, the bad boys of the EU club. There's a lot of countries not happy. So basically what they're trying to do is they're going to, I'm trying to break this down for my little brain because I can't comprehend it. They're telling us on one side that we're producing too much carbon dioxide, we're producing too much methane gas, we don't need as much farms as we have, we're over farming. You're over farming, you're producing too much meat, you're producing too much food. We don't need it, we're overdoing it, we're destroying the globe, blah, 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 blah. Usual, you've heard it all before. Some may be leaving it, some buy into it, some buy into it 10%, some buy into it 50%, some fall for a hunk, line and sinker. I'm somewhere in the middle because I did see those winds this morning. I did see that poor poodle getting blown down the street. So I understand that the weather is changing, the globe is changing, but I don't think by taxing us more or telling farmers to cull their herd is going to save, and I don't think, especially little old Ireland sitting on the edge of Europe, maybe those big countries like America, India, China, the ones causing all the fucking pollution. Maybe if they all stopped, then the little ones like us would go, okay, well conform. But until then, I call bullshit. But anyway, Ireland, Ireland's premier agricultural sector brings in billions per year in state coffers, which is then distributed among Ireland for first class roads, hospitals, schools, veterinarian assistants, you name them, everything that we have that's great here. I know it's very hard to access them great things, but they are state of the art once you get access of your 14-month waiting list. That's another problem. But all comes from that. A lot of that comes from that, and a lot of rural farming towns, communities, generations of farms. Tis my field, and no Englishman will bid on it. Um, like they're going to be hit so hard by this deal if it gets pushed through. It's actually been pushed back a numerous times, I've read. What they're doing is now, in the classic EU term, when they can't get it through legally or democracy way, they will just push it through the side door. Seems to be the case now. A lot of protests in Europe by the farming sector over the Q4 last year, around the end of last year. The Netherlands, Germany, seen a lot of it. A lot of it, little bits on the news, kind of the usual. They'll get like a 2 minute snippet with an RTE because they don't want you to know about it, because they know it's getting pushed through here as well. But but they're basically going to cut billions off our balance sheet every year, destroy families, generations, towns that rely on them families to purchase goods and blah blah blah, usual for the climate. But in the process, they will be importing beef from a place that's getting its trees cut down and transporting over on a massive fucking cargo ship, pumping gas, or whatever you want to call them, CO2 emissions into the air. For what? So we can sell the Uruguayans, BMWs, and Rolexes and other EU goods per se. I don't know. It's big money men talk, but the little man will suffer as always, And as a country that is a master of agriculture, we were starved. As I said, we were starved 150 years ago, deliberately starved, while we were pumping out food across the country. So never again, I'm not saying it's going to be another famine. I'm actually rubbing my gut right now. I'm not saying people are starving here. Certain people might be hungry, but not on the scale that was before. But I don't like the idea of a bureaucrat in Brussels sitting there in a Dolce & Gabbana suit on 200k a year, doesn't know anything about Ireland, doesn't know about the rural aspect of Ireland, their agriculture, and telling them they have to cull their herd or produce less money or produce less product. No, it's not how capitalism works. That's socialism, folks, and not the good kind. It's collectivization, and it's going to cause mayhem. The president of the Irish Farmers Association, Tim Cullihan, I hope I pronounced that right, Tim. He was leading the charge on it, saying Ireland looking for a bit of transparency from the government. The government usually would write a letter to the EU, but you know yourself, the government don't talk back to the EU because we're the good little boys that sit at the front of the class, But do a little research on it for yourselves, guys, because if you're from the country, or if you're from a rural farming community, or someone, because this could hit us hard, and it's been kept under the radar. It is in the mainstream, but very little bit. It's not. It should be a larger talking point, especially when they're talking about the climate. Because what I think they're trying to do is they're trying to troll us in open time, because they're cutting down trees, which are destroying the climate, producing beef cheaply and transporting it across the sea, which destroys the environment, and selling it to a lot of countries that can produce it themselves and don't need the transport. They don't need to cut down trees. So I don't know, just three wrongs make a right, because you can sell a Merc, or you can sell a BMW, or a Rolex, or a Swiss Army knife, or Francais fromage to a bunch of Paraguayans who don't give two shits. I don't know. As I said, I'm a worker ant like you, but we shall see. Moving on to the global spatial observer side of the show. Reading one of the MSM rags today. I won't say a name before I get sued, but it said Trump sends chilling message to Putin to end war. So I just did a little reading into it and then looked at the backstory, because there's always more of a little story to it. So yeah, after the Trump hysteria has died down the last few days, one of his main kind of talking points going into office was he was going to stop this war, this terrible war in Ukraine. Um, and he's looking to do that now. So what basically happened was the last administration in America were funding the Ukrainian army. A lot of other countries were as well. I think America was one of the high funders of. Now, when I say funding, they were giving them money, donations of money. But now, donation, what's that, Amber Heard? I use the word donation. Simnal, you know what's the word? She used it in her trial. Donation and pledge. Sorry, yeah. So they pledged to give them money. But what basically was happening was the United States were giving Ukraine or President Zelensky 100 billion, say. That 100 billion would be automatically spent on American arms by American arms weapons manufacturers, who would then send weapons to Ukraine to help the Ukrainian army fight the Russians who invaded in February 24th, 2022. How do I know? Because it was my birthday. So I always remember. But that's what's basically happened. So if you break that down in layman's terms, that's like you going in to get a haircut, going to the barber. I have no money right now, but can you lend me €20 for a haircut? And the barber says, yeah, no problem. Sit down in the chair, starts getting you ready for your fade, and then says, you owe me €25. And that's basically how it worked. So Trump wants to put a stop to that, and maybe not because he's a humanitarian who cares about Ukrainian or Russian casualties. It's basically a financial thing, or maybe he does care. I don't know. You know what I mean? I could be wrong. I'm just speculating here, but yeah. So he sent a chilling threat to the Ruski premier Vladimir Putin, the man who wrestles bears topless, who does judo in the early hours of the morning, drinking straight vodka, listening to Mozart. Or was that me the other night? I can't really remember. Really should stop drinking. Yeah, so he basically told him, listen, you need to come to the table, put a stop to this, or we're just going to put tariffs on all your exports. Exports being oil, gas, and primarily vodka. The oil and gas is being sold to the Indians and Chinese at a discounted rate, who are then selling it back to us, the EU. I say us as the EU collective because we're all in the gang, aren't we? And to Britain and the other nations at a higher cost. So no one's really winning. You know who's winning? India and China are winning. We're losing and Russia's losing. So he basically said he'd cut that off as well. So, but hopefully he does. These modular homes, I'm looking into them today as well. You've heard about these modular homes. They're like log cabins on fucking steroids. So tying in with the Ukrainian, when the Ukrainian war happened, Ireland pledged to take refugees like we always do. They were genuine refugees from a war-torn country, and Ireland should always take in people from a war-torn country who need help. They shouldn't be taking in people who are just pretending they're refugees, but that's another story, and that's a different argument, different debate, but that's my opinion. But these people were rightly welcomed here. So we said we'll build them homes. Now, again, we have people on the streets, and these people went to the top of the queue because their country got attacked. I don't know. That's politics. That was the government's policy at the time, but that's fine. That's done. That's in the past. But these homes were estimated, valued at 200 tops per unit, excuse me. And they're coming in at 450 now, and they're still not ready. It's just a joke. But no one was shocked or angry. There was no outrage. There was outrage, small outrage, but then you think back to that's a little scale compared to their hospital. They're the most expensive building in the entire fucking world. The Irish National Children's Hospital, 2.9 billion and counting, and no date for opening, no transparency. No one knows what's going on. What a fucking mess. And when all these overestimates and overspends and going into mad money, at the same time they're talking about cutting our agricultural sector, which is bringing in billions, which is funding these projects, all in the name of climate. I smell bullshit. Anyway, that's just a little topic I want to talk about from my friend's request. Have a look at it. The Mercosur trade deal, very shady, very weird stuff going on, and it could be very, very, very harmful to Irish and Ireland's national interest. But bar that, I hope everyone is safe from last night and early hours of the morning storms. I hope everyone is ready for a good weekend, and I hope everyone's eardrums are okay after listening to me droning on. Slán will, fine folk. Pbear is out.
You've been listening to the Bear Necessities Podcast. And if you're hearing this message, you made it to the end. So give yourself a pat on the back that you were able to bear it. Yeah, I said it. Thank you for listening to this episode from start to finish. If you have any questions about the things we covered on the show, or would like to be a guest, or discuss anything about today's topic, or any other, please find us on Instagram and Spotify. We answer all messages, so don't hesitate to reach out. As they say in Dublin when saying goodbye, Allah Akbar.
Hold up.